So here we are, open the curtain, and it's good to see you again in safe and healthy condition, right? By the way, yeah, it's okay, it's okay. By the way, you should carefully pay attention to this final presentation because I am giving away, not this one, but one of those shirts. But you have to work with me. You have to identify what I would call an Easter egg or something which, might somehow be surprising. I don't know. Maybe some of you will get it. And then, in turn, I'll hand out a green Ravenna shirt, an original one. Okay, let's jump into the Ravenna timeline and see how Ravenna actually developed. It all started in 2007. Quick math, 12 years? 15, but that wasn't the Easter egg. Sorry, but you paid attention. That's good. That's good for one. Yes. So yeah, but it all started back in 2007. Then two guys sit together. Actually, one called the other guy on the phone. You probably recognize the guy on the right. The guy on the left is Philip Lavo himself. So he called me, and we were gathering together in a nice Italian restaurant. Unfortunately, not in Ravenna at that time. It was in Russia, the Lavo headquarters, where the Lavo headquarters located. And you know what happens if two guys are sitting together at a nice Italian restaurant? They are talking, not business, soccer. So we were talking soccer, and the reason for this was the upcoming FIFA Soccer Championship in 2010 in South Africa. And the reason for this is Lavo owned a technology which would be able to interconnect the various or different venues located throughout the country with real-time technology so that all these signals which are originating anywhere in these events could be accessed from anywhere. So big, huge virtual metrics. And this technology was based on ATM. Anyone ever heard about ATM? Asynchronous transfer mode? Yeah, right? A dead technology. Unfortunately, it was a nice technology, but at the point we sat together, it was already, visible that we can't use it for anything beyond 2010. So we actually had to discuss what are we gonna do for Brazil, because we knew that in Brazil 2014 ATM would not be available anymore. So in turn, just a month later, in the beginning of 2008, ALC NetworX was inaugurated in Munich. Surprise, surprise, not in Rastatt. Well, it's just because I was based in Munich, and a couple of people I knew were also based in Munich, and nobody wanted to move from Munich to Rastatt. Would you? No, definitely not. By the way, anyone a clue what ALC stands for? Ah, but again, that's not the Easter egg, but thank you for following. Right. It's not Agile Learning Center or Atlantic Lottery Corporation or anything like this. It's just another Lavo company. And that's why we have the similarity in the company logo with the Lavo logo, if you ever recognize this. So the team was assembled. We had 5 very bright guys, all very knowingly in the audio business, none of whom had any clue what networking was, except for using it occasionally and, like this. Jan was from Canada, actually. Jan was the first one who was replaced by Pavel. Pavel was from St. Petersburg, so we really had an international team there. And over the years, more people came aboard, others went away or were replaced, and at current we have 4 people remaining with ALC NetworX in Munich. So we had this green meadow, the task of defining how we want to transport signals for the Soccer Championship 2014 between the different venues based on what would be available and on offer from the local telcos, right? So what would we look into? Well, natural choice, IP. IP was on a rising path. Every telco was switching to IP, and we knew IP would be available on a large enough and powerful enough scale to use it for our purposes. We just didn't know, well, how this would look like in the end, right? So we draw first sketches like this one. This is really an actual sketch we initially draw, how we had the vision on implementing IP and real hardware together and mixed technology. And that was one of the initial sketches. Well, we just didn't start development. We were also evaluating what was available already. We had the LiveWire system from our now friends TELUS over there, QSys, WheatNet. Dante was already visible at that point in time, and the EBU had to find something like ASIP. They're all IP-based, but for some reason or the other, none of these technologies were well suited or suited enough for being used within, the Labo core technology to fulfill the requirements we had set forth for the soccer championship in 2014. So we started developing something on our own, and apparently that received that nice name of the Italian city of Ravenna. Then 1 year later, through hard work, hard prototyping and stuff like this, what you usually do when you do developing, in 2009, the conspiracy session took place at a secret dark room somewhere behind the exhibition halls at IBC in Amsterdam. And a couple of companies were invited to join in, and we suggested them to participate in what we call the Ravenna network over IP or audio over IP technology. And all these companies here immediately joined and were on the same page and supported us. And so we were able 1 year later to introduce Ravenna to the public. So we announced Ravenna in Amsterdam, the next big thing. I don't know if some people really call this, but that's what it was. And we had a booth and a big demonstration wall where we showed our vision, how Ravenna should look like, how it actually should work, and we had prototype implementations from basically all of the participating companies. We even had a microphone from our friends over there at Schöps with an RJ45 jack. Well, to be frank, it was a mock-up. Well, hey, the vision counts, right? Okay, then 1 year later, when we are sure how everything should look like, we published Ravenna, because our idea was to present it as an open technology to the industry and not just use it exclusively for Labo and the preliminary partners. So we published the Ravenna draft on operational principle, and basically, it's nothing else than a cookbook, right? The cookbook was titled Ravenna Draft on Operational Principles, and it has an ingredients list. You look at these typical ingredients there. If you followed my presentations earlier, you have seen all these things. And like a good recipe, it had a cooking order, right? So just told you how to manage these ingredients to receive at a wonderful Ravenna meal at the end, which, well, is tasty and joyful. That is still publicly available. You can go to Ravenna website and just download the whole Ravenna operating principles for free. So in 2012, a major milestone was achieved. We introduced Ravenna to the North American market at NAB, and a nice company just sitting next to our booth came over and said, "What are you guys doing here? Why does this look so different, similar to what we are doing here? Can't we just, collaborate?" Well, actually, what Mike Dosh, then with the TELUS Alliance with LiveWire guy, Mike Dosh on the right side, Frank Fodi in the middle, and Philip Labo on the left, what he said, let's build a co-petition. Which was actually the case, because LiveWire had consoles, Labo had consoles, so they're competing on the market, but network-wise, why wouldn't we collaborate? So we built a co-petition with TELUS Alliance joined Ravenna, and their newly introduced products were immediately able to talk Ravenna. Not just LiveWire, but also Ravenna. Well, the secret behind it, it's very similar. It's no magic at all. It's based on RTP, it's based on clocking, and some advertisement stuff. So they made a Ravenna implementation on their X nodes, and since the TELUS guys are clever enough, they also made it possible that there are thousands of legacy LiveWire nodes which were existing at that point in time, were able to interoperate with Ravenna with the help of an X node as an advertising translator, right? So Ravenna and LiveWire can perfectly interoperate with each other. Now, the same year, we introduced our first SOM system on a module, the COM-IM export. And in 2013, guess what? A new standard was published, AES67. Well, the work on AES67 started at the end of 2010, and the idea or the originating point for AES67 was that there are many, or many, I don't know how to call it, there are some technology solutions out there who are based on IP. You know, like QLAN, LiveWire, WeakNet, Dante, Ravenna, they're all based on IP. They use IP as their transport layer. But unfortunately, they are not able to talk to each other based on IP. You just had to produce audio signals out, audio signals in, and then go into the other solution. And the idea of AES was, can't we set forth a standard which would allow the direct interoperability between all these solutions? The idea was not to set forth a new solution, yet another new solution, but to look closely at what all these solutions have in common and how they are different. So by just looking this, they try to identify a least common denominator. Of course, some things had to be defined on top of that. And so that was, as a result, the AES67 standard, which is not a solution on its own. It's an interoperability definition, which now is supported by all of these existing solutions, and none of these have gone away. They just support AES67. And through this support, we can now directly talk to any of the other solutions, right? Ravenna, Dante, LiveWire, QLAN, WeakNet, whatever, through the help of AES67. In 2013, we also saw the first commercial AES67 project up in Scandinavia and Finland. It is a restaurant, a multi-zone experience restaurant. It had 11 sound zones or something like that. And that consisted of a cooperation between Genelec and UTEL and us. And if you look closely, there's also an Axia X node in there, interestingly enough, as Grandmaster. So that one is serving as the P2P Grandmaster. Yes. But that was the first real AES67 commercial project with cooperation between different companies. Then, 2014, more OEM solutions popped up, so we were not the only supplier of OEM gear. Our friends from France, from Digigram in France, they supplied they introduced the ALX IP. It's a Windows sound system based on the range of ALX cards, sound cards, and now that's the ALX IP card, which has a native Ravenna interface. And Archwave filled the gap for the low channel applications, so they provided small channel and medium-sized channel SOMs speaking Ravenna and AES67, of course. Well, and then 2014, recall, that was our initial starting point to find something for the FIFA Soccer World Cup in Brazil. And so what happened there is Labo supplied half of all the commentary units used throughout the games in all of the 12 stadiums. About half of the commentary units were based on Ravenna. And so that was a huge success, actually. But there was another story in 2014, exactly for this particular occasion. You know, when big sports event open, you usually have something like a big concert or something like that happening. And actually they had a concert in 2014 as the opening event, which featured world-known artists like Placido Domingo, Lang Lang, Ana Maria Martinez, the Brazilian Symphonic Orchestra, and it was scheduled to be broadcasted, delayed live to more than 15 countries. But it's a live event, and they also wanted to record that event to broadcast it as live delayed, of course, right? So their plan was to have a MADI, a dual redundant MADI connection from the front of house mixer, from the main mixer, into the OB van where the recording took place and the delayed live broadcast should happen from, right? So very standard setup, right? Everyone has done it that way at that time, and no problems were actually anticipated. Until the recording engineer arrived late on location because due to some flight trouble, well, also back in 2014 we had some troubles with flight, it's not just these days, and only to discover when he arrived on location that his OB van has moved away another 50 meters. Now, summing up to 100 meters away from the main mixer output. Well, I see nodding heads already. That is it. That is it. The OB van moved for another 50 meters. We have 100 meters between the mixer output and the OB van. And as you know, the scope for standard MADI on coax does not cover that, right? We know that with some particular cables we can make it happen. But you know what? Guess what? If one thing happens, the other thing comes in just natural. Those cables weren't available at short notice in Brazil or on that particular location. So backup plan was add another Horus, connect that directly to MADI from the mixer output, and then use Cat5 Ravenna cable, dual redundant cabling, to connect the Horus over across the 100 meters apart, right? And well, once they turned on signal, they instantly recognized no signal on the coax MADI connection, but full signal, stable signal on the Ravenna connection. So that definitely saved the concert for the Rio opening ceremony in Brazil. The same year, or 1 year later, we had the first live broadcast event. Just briefly skipping over it, it's the Eurovision Song Contest. Most of you have probably heard about that. 6,600 audio signals were routed across our Ravenna system. The same year, the 40th anniversary of the Orchestre Nationale de Lille on Bastille Day, which is the French National Day, took place. It's a live installation, actually. So we employed 78 digital mix which were hooked up to 10 Neumann DMI8 microphone preamps, which had Ravenna output. So those were connected to 2 Lavo mixing desks, one for the front of house sound and the other for the recording, when the recording has been fed into an emerging Pyramix, and that all is being connected via Ravenna. Speaking of merging, interesting company, interesting portfolio there. They are well known for high-end AD/DA converters and recording and stuff. They used to use DXD, DSD at 384 kilohertz for their recording sessions. Well, and they made it happen with Ravenna, so they can run DXD, DSD at 384 kilohertz over Ravenna. And one of the first companies utilizing this was 3L in Norway, and they produced a nice SACD of that church type classic concert recording with the merging gear and Ravenna between the preamps and the DAV station. Then 2016 we had the next soccer event in Europe this time, 10 stadiums in France and 1 IBC in Paris. And it was not just about audio but also video. So we had a massive amount of gear which was used for a seamlessly interrupt-free operation of all video and audio signals, which were all distributed across IP connections. Okay, oh, this is another picture of nicely configured racks which are sitting around the venues, gathering the ambience and the stadium sounds. Of course, they all were sent over via same technology. Then 2016, another company provided OEM gear, a company called Covelos. They introduced their Bach SOM system on a module. Covelos, as you may have known, has been bought by Ross Video now, so it's Ross Video, and by now the palette of Ross Video has at least 3 major options to implement Ravenna. It's a system on a chip and system on a module, and one of the system on the module is pin compatible with the Brooklyn module. So if you're ever seeking for a alternative implementation on your host platform, you could use the Bach Liberty module to replace the Brooklyn board and run Ravenna instead of just AES22 there. Okay, then 2017, another very important milestone. The SMPTE 2110 standard was published. So 2110 is about elementary essence transport. It means if you have an SDI signal, it's a multiplex signal. It's video, it's audio, it's ancillary data in it, right? And the idea of 2110 was, okay, we transport video, raw video, audio, PCM audio, and the ancillary data as independent essence streams, all synchronized via P2P, and by the way, utilizing the very same methods Ravenna has introduced at the beginning, and AES67 was based on. And so, no wonder that SMPTE 2110, which is the, and dash 10 and dash 30, which is what is covering audio, are based on the same principles as AES67, except that there is a small portion of constraints being set forth by 2110, which nowadays don't play a vital role anymore because they are basically matched by each and every AES67 product out in the market anyway. But just to mention that even then, Ravenna was able to cover this all and was thus fully 2110 compliant at that time. And even more, you know, AES67 and dash 30 are about linear PCM transport. So 16 or 24 with linear PCM. But in the real world, we have other audio signals which are very, very vital, which is AES3, right? AES3 is basically 24-bit of linear PCM data plus the additional ASEBU metadata bits. And some audio formats like Golden E rely on these additional metadata, right? So Ravenna defined a method for transporting AES3 from the very beginning. It was called the AM824 format, and SMPTE, when defining the standard, was seeking for a method to transport AES3 signals, not just AES67 linear PCM, but AES3. Well, and we introduced AM824 to them, and they looked at it and they said it's well written. Is it used somewhere? Well, of course it's being used. Well, soccer championship and these kind of things. And so they adopted Ravenna's AM824 format as SMPTE 2110-31. So Ravenna also supports 2110. Late that year, we also received an AV award for a fantastic building, which is the Elbphilharmonie in Hamburg. It's a fantastic building. If you look at these pictures, if you ever have the chance to visit Hamburg, treat yourself, go there, get a tour. It's a fantastic building, not just because it cost 1 billion euros. Again, 1 billion euros. Well, the schedule some 10 years ago was for 90 million euros, but as things go, you know, delay here, delay there, companies dropping out, other companies getting in, something with the roof, blah, blah, blah. So at the end, it was very, very close to 1 billion euros. But the key part for us is it's Ravenna technology in there, which is being used from both operators or hosts in that building. One is the host broadcaster in Norddeutsche Rundfunk, and the other one is actually the operator which operates the live stuff in both concert halls. But they are using the same infrastructure, even the same I/O devices, microphone, pickup, and so on. And through a rights management system deployed by Lavo on the Ravenna network, they don't interfere with each other. So they have full control on their, you know, sources and everything. They can share streams, but they don't interfere with each other by accident. Well, then 2018, are you still with me, by the way? Yeah, 2018, the Olympic Winter Games started, and Ravenna was used basically each and every place in the Winter Olympics, and so signal transport was massively used in Pyeongchang based on Ravenna as well. Yeah, typical winter events here, right? All right. 2019, we had 10 different OEM modules from 6 different Ravenna partners. Just to sum up, we had for ourselves, Archwave was supplying something, direct out, merging, Ross, Digigram. They all were supplying or are supplying here. You know, what's this one? Next slide? No, it's not next slide. Hold on. Oh, yeah, it's next slide. Sorry, I'm confused. Now, that was 2019, state of 2019. And then 2020, do your math, 10 years, right? We were looking forward to a big, big, big celebration, right? 10 years of Ravenna at IVC. Well, we all know what happened. That guy entered the scene, and once of a sudden, our laughing really stops. And there wasn't a big celebration after 10 years of Ravenna. And so, yeah, we couldn't do anything about it. Just sit there and wait and see what's coming up and how things turn out. Luckily enough, we had another occasion or event coming up in 2020, and that was Ravenna received a Tech Emmy Award. So after 10 years of doing our work, we were honored by the Academy with a Tech Emmy Awards for the development of synchronized multi-channel uncompressed audio transport over IP. And to be fair, this is not just us which received the Tech Emmy Award, but all the other parties who contributed to the development of this, like Telos Alliance, Audinate, of course, QSC, Wheatstone, the AES as an organization, and Kevin Gross, who was the leader of the AES22 task group in person. They all received this Tech Emmy Award for their achievements. And I told that yesterday already. I wanted to treat you with the ceremony award video with a short clip of it, but unfortunately the audio won't play on the sound system, so it's of no use to actually watch that video, so I just skip over that. And just give you, well, here's another picture when that finally arrived in Munich. It took a while, but then finally it was there. And it's now sitting in my living room, just on top of the, on the shelf of the TV screen, the big TV screen. So from time to time, I can have a glimpse and enjoy it. It's really a nice statue. It's very impressive. Okay, then to sum up, since then, we have now 2022, a number of Ravenna partners, new manufacturers have joined Ravenna, the Ravenna community. So we have companies from Switzerland, Logitech from US, LA8 from China, Seat Worldwide, Weigel from Austria, EONR, they are in Canada, active in high-end business. They are using Ravenna for transport audio. Nixa from UK, Dream from France, Thailand, from Australia. Then there's a company, Holoplug from Berlin, which received a very special mention actually, because they are not in this broadcast business, more in the business you guys are related to, in the Pro AV world. So what they do is they are building a speaker cabinet for immersive sound reproduction. Now that speaker cabinet has the size like this, and it contains 96 individually driven speakers. And with that one, they can, well, generate beam steering and sound field forming, all these kind of things. And usually you don't have just one of those devices, right? You would use a number of devices, maybe even located a bit apart, and then you can have a perfect, you know, beam steering and sound field experience. And then we learned that there's a project coming up in Las Vegas, the MSG Sphere. It's the largest ever built, man-built sphere in the world with a diameter of 110 meters, seating for 20,000 people. It's a full immersive, visual and audio full immersive surround building. You're sitting in the audience, and everything is covered with LED screens, and the speaker cabinets hidden behind those LED screens to produce a full immersive sound field. Now guess how many of these cabinets are in there? It's not 10, it's not 100. It's 1,500 of these cabinets built into this sphere. Well, and it will all be driven by Ravenna. So that's a very impressive project. So if you ever have the chance to visit Las Vegas next year, they are scheduled to open. Unfortunately, I don't think it's at the time when NAB takes place. It will be more later in the year, but once that is open, that's definitely a must to visit. All right. Finally, more partners came aboard, the last one being Glen Sound, who joined just before IBC, Glen Sound from the UK. And so that sums up to more than 50 manufacturers currently supporting Ravenna. So that's the story so far. There would be, you know, much more to tell you. I just try to pick a few of the interesting highlights. Maybe stuff you didn't want to know at all. I don't know. It's your decision at the end. And so thanks for showing up. Thanks for supporting Ravenna in one or the other way, either being a manufacturer, a supporter, system integrator, or just an end user. And thank you, of course, for your attention, staying with me, even if I managed to do it on time, right? Wow, perfect. Perfect. Okay. So that's it. Thank you again, and here's my contact data. I'll show you.